Imagine waking up to find that the G7, the world's most powerful financial group, has just flipped the world's money system on its head. They did it without making a big deal or a story in the news. Instead, they made a quiet, smart, and private deal that could be remembered as the most upsetting change in financial power since the end of the Bretton Woods system. The emergency meeting, which was never made public, finished with what is now known as the Tokyo Accord. A shocking and unprecedented order is hidden in this agreement that most of the world still hasn't caught on to it. The G7 has officially named XRP a Tier 1 reserve asset. This is an official recognition of a digital asset that has been talked about, questioned, and closely watched for a long time. This is no longer about guesswork. It's not about the next bull run or a short-term price jump. This is the basic idea behind how the world's best economies store, trade, and back wealth. The Tokyo Accord says that all 7 of the G7 central banks must start buying and storing XRP in large amounts. The secret paper says that XRP is not just an asset, but also a necessary part of a country's liquidity, a safety net, a bridge, and a support for the new digital economy. And to make sure there is enough liquidity and functionality, the G7 allegedly decided that the lowest amount of XRP that can be worth in order to achieve these goals is $250,000. Let's take a break. That number doesn't make sense, but let's look at what XRP is replacing or adding to. There are about $13 trillion worth of gold stocks above ground around the world. A lot more than tens of trillions of dollars back up the US dollar and other fiat currencies. There are also bonds and other promises that can't be seen or touched. But these old tools are falling apart because of inflation, lack of trust, and waste. And gold is hot. RD to split, heavy and expensive to move. Fiat currencies can be changed by politicians and can be printed over and over again. XRP, on the other hand, settles in seconds. As it moves across countries, there is no resistance. It works with a decentralized system that doesn't favor any one country. Unlike most coins, XRP has already been reviewed by regulators in a number of different places. It's not just technology that the G7 decided to make XRP a main reserve asset. It's about survival, and not just survival in terms of money. Think about the situation. In the past few years, there have been falling currencies, bank failures, lack of cash, and more political unrest. Even in the US, there have been rising debt ceiling fights, inflation spikes, and attempts by global competitors to get rid of the dollar. The BRICS countries have been working together to avoid the dollar. Germany and other European countries are working to bring the gold back to their own countries. Japan has been looking for digital ways to keep trade stable because of stagflation. The G7 needed something new in this rough time. It should be global, digital, neutral, and liquid. That's exactly what XRP is. The Tokyo Accord doesn't say that paper currencies should be thrown out. Instead, it adds XRP as a neutral layer, a settlement asset that can be used by different countries and lets them move money between them without depending on each other's debt. This is a huge change in how people think. Instead of believing each other or military-backed fiat, countries now have a way to settle trade and disputes without having to trust anyone. There is no decentralization as an idea here. There is decentralization as strategy. Now, let's talk about cost. If you think about XRP in the context of its current market, $250,000 per token might sound crazy. But if you change your expectations from a speculative crypto asset to a systemically adopted reserve tool, it doesn't seem so crazy. The G7 countries, which together account for more than 45% of the world's GDP, need a lot of cash to keep their businesses stable. For digital financial infrastructure to work, each country's central bank would have to keep XRP. This means that liquidity pools must be large and last a long time. The overall market value of XRP would have to be trillions of dollars for even a small share, like 10% of the world's reserves. Because there are so few tokens available, each one must be worth a lot more. Let's talk about how this order is put together now. People can't see the Tokyo Accord. This is an internal policy alignment document that is shared between strategic infrastructure groups, some private institutions, and central banks. Sources say that since 2023, Ripple Labs, the company that made the XRP ledger, has been in close but quiet talks with a number of countries. Compliance, scalability, custody solutions, and integrating into current systems were said to be the main topics of these talks. RippleNet is already used to send money and pay businesses across borders in dozens of countries. The Tokyo Accord just takes that to a whole new level on a world level. Things get even more interesting now. The agreement has a phase plan. The first phase is discrete buildup. Each central bank will start buying XRP through over-the-counter trades. This will keep the price stable while the purchases are being made. In Phase 2, the public is brought in, and XRP reserves and national balance sheets are reported under new financial categories. In the third phase, XRP is fully used as a bridge asset for foreign payments between the G7 countries. Since we're in Phase 1 right now, it's possible that people have already started buying. We've never seen such a rush to buy XRP as will happen when the first country makes its shares public. Imagine the effect on other countries if the UK or Japan confirmed XRP as a backup ingredient. Institutions are going to jump in, money in sovereign wealth funds will be rebalanced, people who aren't big investors will jump in because they don't want to miss out. Unlike Bitcoin, XRP can be used for payment, and it works well with the way money is already stored. It's not a hedge. This is the building blocks. Let's talk about what this means for geopolitics. The G7 avoided a possible fight with growing powers by using XRP as a neutral reserve. The East and West can talk to each other through it. BRICS might use tokens backed by gold, and the West might favor XRP. This could start a new age of digital peace. In this world, reserve assets are no longer used to dominate but to work together. This is the next step in the diplomatic use of money. There are, however, risks. What will happen if a big XRP validator stops working or is hacked? What will happen if different legal bodies handle XRP in different ways? This is fixed by the accord by adding duplication. Even though the XRP ledger is not controlled, some institutional validators are being created and added to make it more reliable. Also, XRPL governance models are being standardized across institutions that are part of the G7. Let's take a step back and look at what this means for you as an investment, business owner, or person who follows the rules. This move by the G7 affects more than just banks. It works its way down to business banks, payment processors, fintech companies, and finally customers. Over time, you might see payment apps that use XRP to settle international trades. You might see bills that are priced in local currencies but backed by XRP liquidity pools. Some of the ways you get paid may even use XRP behind the scenes, and you might not even be aware of it. It's no longer a question of if. Too much speed is being used. It's too clear what the motives are. The party lineup is too strong. XRP is no longer a speculation tool because the G7 has made its move. It's a tool of the government. What will happen next? In the next few weeks and months, listen out for comments from central banks that talk about digital liquidity tools or interoperability across borders. Watch out for rapid jumps in the number of XRP transactions that don't match up with activity on the public market. This could mean that OTC is building up. Pay attention to what Ripple Labs says about forming relationships with banks or infrastructure providers. Read between the words of what the BIS and IMF say. Most importantly, keep an eye out for the first domino, which will be the first G7 country to publicly say how much XRP it holds. When that happens, a lot of people come in. The $250,000 price tag stops being a guess and turns into a goal. And the rewards could last for generations for those who caught the signs early. We are seeing the change in value itself, from bars of metal locked in vaults to digital units protected by code and agreement. It's no longer about crypto, it's about control, rules, and the future of the most important part of society's finances. Not as a coin, but as a standard, XRP has come out into the world. Nota bene. Please keep in mind that I'm not a qualified financial manager. The information in these movies is only meant to be entertaining. Before making any financial decisions, I always tell my viewers to do their own study and talk to professionals. Thanks for listening. Do not forget to hit the follow button and give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure you turn on alerts so you know right away when I post something new. In the next movie, I can't wait to catch up with you. Be careful.